My Irish adventure began with a bird's eye view over the breathtaking green expanse of the countryside. The rolling hills, crisscrossed by ancient crumbling stone walls, and the dramatic, brooding clouds instantly set the stage for what I knew would be an unforgettable week. There was a raw, untamed energy to the landscape that immediately drew me in.
Hello all and welcome back to Jolly Good Journeys. Today I'm in County Lough, Ireland. I'm going to base myself out of here for the next 7 days and explore the surrounding area. Let's dive right in.
I set up my base in the peaceful village of Omeath, looking out over the tranquil waters of the Lough, with the rugged mountains resting in the background. It proved to be the absolute perfect starting point for my explorations. My very first stop was Flagstaff. As I navigated the rugged paths, the landscape completely opened up around me. I spent a long time just tracing the lines of the historic stone boundaries that snake around the hillsides here. There is something fascinating about how these heavy, moss-covered rocks were meticulously stacked so long ago, yet they still define the harsh terrain today. I took my time soaking in the sweeping panoramic views of the valley below. The biting wind added a layer of grit to the experience, making me feel truly immersed in the wild magic of the Irish countryside. Every direction offered a masterclass in varied textures, from the sharp grey masonry to the soft swaying heather. Next, my route took me down into a quiet rocky hollow steeped in local folklore to a site known as the Long Woman's Grave. I stood before the weathered stone monument, tracing the engraved letters, and took a moment to read the tragic centuries-old tale. It tells the story of a towering Spanish noblewoman who was deceived and ultimately lost her life on these very hills. The sheer isolation of the spot really amplified the haunting atmosphere of the legend. It was a fascinating piece of history tucked right into the mountain pass, anchored by the cold, heavy stones that have stood as her quiet memorial for generations. My journey then led me towards the industrial fencing near Clermount Cairn, where my arrival was met with some serious local skepticism. A small gang of sheep detectives had completely blocked the gate. They stood their ground, eyeing me suspiciously, as if they were absolutely certain I was about to commit high crimes against sheepanity. I tried pleading my case, but they were tough negotiators. After a tense, silent standoff, they finally decided I wasn't a threat and graciously allowed me to pass. Leaving my woolly interrogators behind, I hiked up to the summit near the towering communication masts. The contrast between the ancient rolling hills and the stark metal gridwork of the towers gave the peak a distinct, almost industrial grit. From up there, the perspective shifted entirely. I looked out over the ridge, taking in the vast, rugged terrain stretching out towards the water. The weather up here was noticeably harsher, but it only added to the rugged charm of the climb. I took my time, letting the camera capture the sheer drop-offs and the textured, rocky outcroppings that peppered the ridgeline. It truly felt like I was standing on top of the world. I continued my trek along the narrow, winding paths that cut right through the grassy moorlands. The sheer scale of these sweeping valleys made me feel incredibly small, but in the best way possible. The ground was uneven, a mix of soft turf and jagged, embedded rocks that required careful footing. Every turn of the trail offered a new, unobstructed view of the wild landscape. I found myself frequently stopping just to listen to the absolute silence of the hills, broken only by the crunch of my boots on the gravel and the distant whistling of the wind. Eventually, the hillside opened up completely to reveal the day's most stunning panorama. I spent a good chunk of the afternoon just staring at the endless patchwork of lush green fields, the imposing distant peaks, and the glittering cold waters of Carlingford Lough far below. The way the light shifted through the clouds completely changed the colors of the valley minute by minute. It was exactly the kind of dramatic, wind-swept scenery you picture when you dream of Ireland, completely raw and utterly captivating. To wrap up a fantastic first day, I took in one last sweeping view over Omeath and the jagged coastline. It was the absolute perfect conclusion to my introduction to County Louth. Next time, I'll be exploring the ancient masonry and medieval streets of Carlingford. Stay tuned.